Ian, thank you so much for meeting us. But first off, I want you to just talk about the now. What are you doing?
So I'm clearly sitting in a van right now. It's not necessarily by the river, but we're in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we're actually studying this system of severe weather, and particularly hail. One of our objectives in our IBHS Hailfield program this year is to understand some of the regional differences about hailstorms, especially in the south and southeast, where we often see hail that maybe all that pretty clear ice might have even more lumps and bumps and spikes. And we want to understand, are there differences about the big hail we might see in the Great Plains of the US versus other environments like the South and Southeast? So this system presented an opportunity for us to actually track an entire storm system as it moved out of the Great Plains and across the South. So we are out here in the field.
I'm guessing there'll be multiple other tests. Is this the first one that you're doing this season, now that severe weather season really is in full gear?
Yeah, this is our first mission of 2022. We've been doing this project in different forms since 2012, but yeah, first mission of 2022, and we look to usually do 2 to 3 missions a year, maybe 14 days total in the field, trying to collect as much information about hail as we possibly can, whether we're just measuring or weighing hailstones or actually doing tests on them to crush them and see how much force it takes to fracture them. So that's very important in how we design laboratory testing for essentially better building materials.
Over 10 years, what are some of the differences that you've seen from maybe hail in the Great Plains to what we might see here in the Carolinas and the Southeast?
So one of the things we're starting to understand is that the environment that the storms are embedded in actually controls how strong hailstones are. So different combinations of instability and wind shear can actually give you different strengths of hail. Whether you get a very hard hailstone that might bounce off of something like even concrete versus something that just turns to kind of a slushy material. So those are some of the things we're actually starting to unlock as we do this work. People might be surprised. Some of the strongest hailstones take upwards of 4,000 pounds per square inch to fracture. So think about your car tire, right? 35, 40 PSI. You're talking about a hailstone that needs 4,000 PSI to actually break it.
Well, that's mind-blowing on its own. I'm always fascinated by hail. Just as the sciencey meteorology side of me, what are some of the values that you might have seen that we wouldn't put this in a story for wind shear and instability, LIs? Can you give me some of those facts and figures? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, so some of the things with hail production, we're starting to realize that the kinematics, the wind shear profile is what actually matters quite a bit. So there's kind of a critical value of instability and CAPE. You got to get above 1,500 or so joules per kilogram, but then it really starts to matter about the orientation of the wind profile. So a shear vector that's strung out in the east, kind of west to east direction, is actually favorable for hail growth. And some of the things that we see with hail, like strong mid-level flow, good, very good upper ventilation of thunderstorms, are not necessarily those tornado ingredients. The low-level shear, like we look for in tornadoes, especially in the South, is not ideal for hail production. So there are some differences between the environments, kind of competing factors there between tornadoes and hail. And then the one fly in the whole ointment are the long track supercells that just make one tornado, and they're usually making hail all together, and it doesn't seem to matter. And we have no idea why that is.
I've heard a fact back in the day. Now I'm just kind of like leeching you for information. Supercells, I've always heard the fact that 100% of all supercells produce hail. Is that correct?
They do. They all produce hail aloft. Whether or not it makes it to the ground, like yesterday, we actually saw pretty good indications of very small, large concentrations of hail aloft. Yet in most of the storms during their tornadic phase, the hailstones either melted, never made it to the ground.
What are some of the impacts of different size hail? So of course we know that through studies that you all have done, probably drove the fact that why we warn for an inch size diameter. How does it kind of exponentially go up? Is it a linear growth or is it exponential as hail grows?
So the critical aspects of hail is really how much energy it has when it hits things. So it's kinetic energy, and it actually goes up by the square of the speed it's falling at, or the velocity. So obviously a 2-inch hail is going to have a lot of energy. It's 20 to 30 joules, but if you go up to 3, you're going to square that velocity, so that goes up exponentially. And once you get to the really behemoth hail, the 4, 5, 6 inches, you're talking about a tremendous amount of energy. From a damage perspective, we often see car damage start at about 1.5 inch type size. That'll sufficiently dent your vehicle. And then roof damage really starts as we get above that. So once you get to 1.75 inches, 2 inches, you're going to start causing those dents on shingles. But we're starting to learn more and more about what are the types of hail, how strong hail has to be to cause those dents and cracks on our roofs.
So pretty much ping pong golf balls where we're talking about car and roof damage. So I can say, and I've always thought this, so the energy exponentially increases with hail size with the linear increase. All right, that's excellent. Yeah. I guess my last question is what's the goal here? We go 2 to 3, like how is this going to help property and how we build houses and everything?
So all the work that we've done in the field over the years has actually gone into our IBHS hail impact testing standard that folks can actually go see those shingle ratings online. We used all the field information we collected to actually design laboratory work to not only manufacture realistic hailstones in the lab to use in this testing of materials, but to also understand how fast they fall so we can actually propel them at the proper speeds that you would see in a real hailstorm. So that's one aspect. The second is understanding more about the environment so we can forecast hail better. Yesterday, to be very honest, we were looking at an environment we thought in the conventional way that would support really, really big hail, but it never materialized. We had these big parameters that came together, but the hail production simply wasn't there. So we still don't understand what are those nuances to better forecast hail. So we can think about being able to protect our cars. If we had a really good hail forecast, we can really take a dent out of that damage, pun intended there. But there's a way to really improve all those facets, how we build with hail in mind, how we forecast, and even how we detect it with our weather radars.
Why this storm? You have 2 to 3 that you could choose. Why did you choose this storm system?
Yeah, this system presented the unique opportunity to essentially follow a large upper level system that's going to produce multiple days of severe weather in different kind of large scale environments as it moves across the South. So we get kind of a traditional Great Plains environment. Today, we're moving into the much more deeper moisture associated with the southern U.S. and a little bit more enhanced shear profile as well. So what are those competing factors and what are all the things that are coming together? How do they change something like hail strength? So our real goal is to measure a whole bunch of hailstones and do a lot of crush tests and try to understand that.
What are the prime hail setup?
Really, we're looking for those discrete supercell storms. Those are the ones that can produce the really big hail, especially here in the United States. So you're looking for enough buoyancy, and it's not overwhelming buoyancy. So that's enough kind of low level heat and moisture to get those blobs of air going up pretty well, but it can't be too much. And then you got to have a good wind profile with some good wind shear, but it's got to be stretched out in that west to east direction. And if storms in that kind of environment stay by themselves, that's when we can see hail production, especially across the South and Southeast into our area in the Carolinas.
Kind of bring us through what today is going to be like, because we know about tornado chaser. You're a hail chaser, my friend.
Yeah, so today for us, we're going to try to target what we think are these isolated cells that may be developing across kind of southeast Louisiana into kind of western Mississippi. Right now, there's actually a big line of storms off to our north. It's even raining just a little bit right now here in our hotel parking lot. So we're going to scoot ourselves east from Lake Charles over to likely southwest Mississippi and look for some of those discrete storms that may develop south of kind of a main complex. Now, eventually, we do think these will all kind of congeal into a big line, and we'll see what shakes out there. But that's our plan for today. So we'll be up and at 'em here pretty shortly and on the road.
Well, Ian, if you don't mind, can you be my hail expert? Because you are fantastic, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem, Chris.